Oyedepo, in Law's sermon to Iluyomade, Agbala, Gabriel speaks. For more than 11 years, I lived in Abuja before tribal management moved me to Lagos. I was a devoted member of the Living Faith Church, also known as Winners Chapel. I was also a worker in the sanctuary unit of the main Abuja church, then in Durumi before the relocation to present-day Faith Academy. With joy, early Saturday mornings, men and women, some with enviable social standings, resumed to scrub toilets, creatively dubbed with White House, clean. The cars dotting the parking lot spoke to the caliber of men and women who will be singing praises to God as they energetically peeled up every noticeable fecal stain on the toilet walls, floors, and wall. Okay, on the toilet seat, floors, and walls, especially in the children's section. It was God's work and nobody paid anyone a shekel. During prayers to round off every cleaning session, which would include sweeping the main auditorium, overflow platforms, and the massive premises, we make supplication to God to clean up our lives as He helped us to clean up His house. Looking back, I believe God honored the yesteryear's pro bono service. In the last 12 years of living in Lagos, I have fellowshipped as a member of the RCCG. Why I switched is a story for another day. In 2004, a major crisis broke out in Abuja, Living Faith. The apex leadership, defined by Pastor David Oyedepo, had accused his then high-flying bishop and the leader of the Abuja church, Dayo Olutayo, now the presiding pastor of Good Tidings Bible Church, Abuja, to be transferred to Port Harcourt as the bishop in charge. Of course, Dayo is sibling of Faith Oyedepo, the wife of the founding bishop. For days and weeks, parishioners weighed options. When it became clear Dyer would not bow to the order of his then boss, spiritual father, and big sister's husband. The younger generation in Living Faith Abuja was particularly restive when Dyer eventually resigned his pastoral duties. In Minas and launched his own ministry, eventually confirming the initial rumor he would not be moved outside of lucrative Abuja. He practically halved the Durumi assembly. Ironically, his church wasn't also far away from where he was rebelling from. After a lot of pressure from a friend who will likely read this, he took me one curious Sunday service at a new church to conclude that China product, it won't last. Though I'm talking about the structure and name enduring. I'm talking about ecclesiastical integrity, spiritual discipline, and congregational ethos. I'm speaking about not just jumping out of fatherly spiritual cover. I'm talking about not becoming assumptive of one's spiritual strength, stability, and even grace. 1 Corinthians 10 verse 12 says, "Let him that thinks he stands take heed lest he fall." When one decides to become a vine, when he should remain a branch, a fall isn't far off. I once interviewed Pastor Utua Igodalo. His ministry appears to be doing well today, but his heart was obvious when we discussed walking away from RCCG over discipline issues. Rebelling over corruption can also be dangerous. No, I'm not saying God cannot call a lieutenant, but Bible is replete with allowing daddy's ministry to end somehow before starting with the son. Eli or Samuel, Moses or Joshua, Elijah and Elisha, etc. Even David had to wait for years after being anointed king for Saul to expire before he could take the throne. Suspended RCCG celebrity pastor Idowu Iluyomade is rumored to have resigned his pastoral duties with the church. He is also being tipped to start his own church. Of course, like Olutayo in Abuja, the former City of David leader is likely to go mega in Lagos, especially on the island supporters of the billionaire flock in RCCG, who are likely to exit with him. I hesitate to put mouth where the man says he's doing God's work or has been called by God for a particular assignment. It is between him and him, and if he has called his name in vain, it is still between him and him. But the Iluyomade script bears too many disturbing similarities to the Olutayos. Maybe the Lagos RCCG man should pause and take a second look at where his Abuja winner's brother is today, 20 years after his rebellion, and ask God again if it is truly time to move. Their Ibadan-based colleague and social media sensation, Pastor Gabriel Ademola Amusan, known as Agbala Gabriel, can also learn a thing or two from the embattled duo in handling storm and stardom. Like Olutayo's Ministry of Rehabilitation of the Poor and the Needy in Abuja, known as Life Gate Centers, The young Ibadan realtor has obviously made a name for himself with crowdfunding philanthropy, employing a reality show style to pump his audiences into giving. As expected, he has been in and out of controversies, with his latest being his involvement with a trending revoltee devotee, a certain Muyudin. Back and forth on social media isn't my thing, but seeing the saga has seeped into online media, it is important to point out the salient fact to parties, especially the man of God who is gapingly missing it by trying to be God of man and in this instance God of Muyudin in his quest to win souls. No doubt one can be sincerely wrong even in God's name and work. Making an adult to live within the church premises and restricting his access to the outside world and the house built for him through crowdfunding spearheaded by Gabriel, as well as compelling church attendance all against his will, a textbook definition of abduction, a textbook definition of adoption under the Nigerian legal system, regardless of his wife, our way unhelpful explanation, and the allegation the fellow was a gambler, wasting his money on Babijebo. Then beating him with corroborating laceration on his back is pure crime of assault, torture, and causing him grievously bodily harm. And to think this Agbala fellow has traveled the world, even if not well lettered, isn't traveling a major part of education? In America, where he must have severely been to by now, he would not be granted interview with softball questions from PR guys masquerading as independent journalists. He'll be in orange jumpsuits with a mugshot to boot, attending his trial which the government would open against him, whether Mayudin presses charges or not. Reverend King once operated the way Gabriel is doing now and is now a condemned criminal awaiting execution because authorities waited until he murdered a young lady. But for death, authorities obviously in bed with controversial men of God would have tolerated a lot from TB Joshua and his Reverend King's spiritual leadership style. Police should raid Agbala Gabriel's church and free those in captivity whose financial misfortune is being used to limit their choices. Salvation is a gift from God. Gabriel can only help the poor and the needy, sow a seed of salvation into them by preaching the good news of Christ and leave the rest to the Holy Spirit, who can convict and convince. Pastors who struggle with God for attention in soul winning always end with the kind of mess Gabriel has found himself. If anyone dies and is custody in the name of being daddy to him or her, the blood will be under those in authority in Oyo State. Muridin even preferred to be homeless again, rejecting the house on ownership document despite being built for him from public donation simply because of proximity to Daddy Gabriel. What man of archangel is this, for God's sake? Make them look into this piece in the talk. We don't want to hear justice for anybody. Alright, on this note, we've come to the end of the news. We say thank you for tuning in to listen. Until I come your way next time, enjoy the rest of your day.